As part of the work of the Institute, we have been studying compassion as a means to improve health and aging. Over the past 2 years, we have developed a way to measure a city's compassion by looking at both subjective and objective measures. Imagine a city where compassion guides a community. Here to talk about how we get there are 3 advocates for compassion in our community. First, I'm happy to introduce Dr. Tony Gansel, Dean of the University of Louisville School of Medicine. Dean Gansel has been a champion for compassion at our university. Dean Gansel.
Thank you, Joe. What an exciting initiative, and on behalf of the School of Medicine, I want to congratulate both you and Dr. Fall on this initiative, to congratulate the mayor and all of his terrific initiatives around compassion, and to congratulate our city. Compassion defines who we are as physicians, and it's the mission of our physician group, of our University of Louisville physicians, to provide patient-centered care with compassion and excellence. As a school of medicine, we're champions for compassion, and we're absolutely committed to being mindful and intentional about cultivating compassion. Historically, we have focused on compassion towards our patients, so taking a bit of a narrow view of compassion. But now we know that it's so much more, that it is very, very important to be compassionate to one another and to be compassionate to ourselves. Compassionate makes us healthier. It makes us more resilient. It makes us better learners, better teachers, better doctors, better citizens. It makes us a stronger school of medicine. And it's why last July we signed a resolution, and I think we're the first school of medicine in the country to sign a resolution committing to being a compassionate school of medicine. And we're honored to partner with our wonderful mayor and the initiatives of the city. Wellness is a complex interaction of health and compassion and resilience. And it's more important than ever. As we heard at our town hall, we need to up our game. It's more important than ever in this very complex and stressful world that we live in, that we intentionally think about being mindful about cultivating compassion. The importance of wellness is based in science, it's based in evidence, and we can't deny its importance. This tool, created by Drs. Fall and D'Ambrosio, will help us with guideposts to becoming more compassionate, to becoming more well at all stages of aging, and we are really excited about being part of that. We are a compassionate city, and cultivating that will make us a healthier, stronger, and more resilient community. Thanks.
I stand here today for many reasons, but one of the most important is, Mayor, it is to honor you, because it is the 5th time now, the 5th year, in which this city has been chosen as the most, I shouldn't say the most important, but the most significant of the cities that have become compassionate cities. And so I come here to say to your city, who know you well, that we honor you, we thank you for what you've done to give leadership, and we thank the city. It's very important that there be a place like this where we can say to cities that are just beginning to think about, could they be a compassionate city? Sometimes people say, please tell me, what does it mean to be a compassionate city? I'm tempted to always give them your phone number, but you can be, I don't do that. But the fact, I am the mother of a mayor. My daughter was the mayor of Cleveland, so I know what it means to be a mayor. And mayors have many things given to them and many responsibilities. And you've taken of all the things that you do and all the things that are expected of you, and you would be the first to say to me, please don't say it's me. And I don't say that, but you've given leadership, and you've chosen the city will sacrifice. Karen Armstrong, if she were here, would say, don't make compassion sound easy. Compassion is a dangerous choice for your life. It requires sincerity, it requires sacrifice, and it requires what we're seeing in this town. And so it gives me great pleasure to be able to say for the 5th time that we recognize this city is what you would want me to say. Your leadership and this city for being the compassionate city here in this country and in other countries as well. And the recognition of what you've done and continue to do is something that we will take notice of, and we'll share it in such a way that when people ask, what does it mean to be a compassionate city? I won't give them your phone number. But the fact of the matter is, this city can stand as an example for what it means not to be just compassionate in a piece of it, but what it means to be compassionate that touches every bit of this city. And to the medical school, as the mother of a doctor, I'm very happy to see that the medical school has said yes to compassion. I can't think of a place where it's needed more. So, Mayor, if I could say just a few words that I wrote, very few. I come here today as president and chair of the Charter for Compassion. The charter was launched in November of 2009, and only 2 years later, in November, the city of Louisville, Kentucky, Mayor Greg Fisher and the City Council affirmed the Charter for Compassion as one of the very first of the compassionate cities. This has given great prominence to compassion in other places. Throughout the last 5 years, Louisville has consistently striven to have always be an example for compassion at the center of its life, of civic discourse, and the mayor has always been attentive to the meaning of compassion. Mayor Fisher's constant advocacy and the strength of over 120 businesses and other organizations and religious organizations have signed the Charter of Compassion. The Charter of Compassion now has over 100 cities across the planet where the mayors and city councils have signed the Charter of Compassion and pledged to make compassion a part of the life where they live. Louisville has been for the last 5 years a leader to other cities in the nation and well beyond. Louisville has offered leadership to the cities and is now formulating the process for creating an international cities center here in Louisville, Kentucky. So in recognition of the depth of commitment of this city, of its government, and for you as the mayor, I am pleased to award today, for the 5th year, the Model City Award to Louisville, Kentucky, and most especially to you. Let's give us all a hand.
Very nice. Well, okay. Okay, well, thanks, Joan. I appreciate that. And as we all know, this is not about me. This is about our city. I just happen to have the honor of being in the right place at the right time and calling out to what was already part of our city. So it's been a real honor and one I take with great humility to be part of the team. And to the extent that I can use this office to further this cause, I will do that every day, 24/7. There is no time, I think, in our history where this has been more important as well. Thank you, and thank Karen Armstrong and others. You all really laid the pathway forward for compassion here to be something that we would speak about around the world. The Dalai Lama, of course, has been a great partner of ours also. And it's just been wonderful for us here in our city for this to be part of our growth and development and really reawaken what's in everyone's hearts already. So this is something that can't be stopped. And when we started this work, and Tom Williams was there at the beginning, we knew everything that was going on in the city around compassion. Now there's so many things going on, we just happen to hear about it and walk away with a smile as we talk about it as well. I said it has never been more important. Obviously, we're at a really unclear point in our country's history right now, and I think what will guide us forward will be the more that we can focus on these human values that we all share, kindness, love, and compassion, and others. That's what will get us through these times where we're questioning maybe who we are as a country, and we're questioning the bonds that we have with citizens that aren't in rooms like this. But if we can focus on these human values that we're all born with, and I've got confidence that we will succeed as a society. But it's going to take hard work to do that. I mean, clearly we see that right now, and it's kind of counterintuitive, but we have to be loud, and be loud with compassion. When I was elected, people, Joan, said that, oh, that sounds soft, and, this is not what political leaders are supposed to do. You're supposed to be tough. Well, what they didn't understand, it is tough to be compassionate, and it does take some courage to shout to the world that we aspire to be an even more compassionate city, and all the grief that you get with that. When there's one act of or lack of compassion, people say, I thought you were a compassionate city. We're in a time where it seems like people think it's great sport to tear each other down or to blame each other rather than to lift each other up. So we proudly carry the mantle of compassion forward with all the imperfections that we have and that I have, knowing that it's the only way for us to move our society forward. So we are grateful for the Charter for Compassion to be a framework for us not just to do our work here, but also to work with other cities. There have been over 40 cities that have contacted me, Brenda Frank, Tom Williams, to ask, how do you actuate this concept of a compassionate city? So this is not something that's just unique to us. It's happening all over the world right now. Within the Conference of Mayors, Tom Tate, the mayor of Anaheim, California, they refer to themselves as the city of kindness, also are pursuing this notion, and then many other cities as well. We asked His Holiness the Dalai Lama to come and speak at the U.S. Conference of Mayors this past June. He accepted with great excitement because he wants to scale this message, and cities are the right size for the message of compassion to be sent. When people are asking, how do you activate a city around compassion? Well, here's just a little bit of what my schedule was today. Started the day with radio, talking about what we're doing to reduce this scourge of violent crime that's taking place in our city, and having people kind of come to grips with the notion that you can be both a compassionate city and a city where an unspeakable amount of violent crime is happening at the same time, where homicides are way too high and people are taking guns and killing each other. How do we respond as a compassionate city to that? And one does not preclude the other. The next meeting had to do with our environment and foresting our city more, especially in areas of our city that have low tree canopy, which, not surprisingly, are areas of low income and low health outlook. That's what a compassionate city does. Affordable housing was up next. A compassionate city is concerned that everyone has a place to live and can have basic shelter so that you can have an active and prosperous life after that. And I just came from a meeting with our Hispanic clergy, who are concerned, as I am and we are, about their members and threats of deportation and tearing families apart. This is what's happening in our country right now, and this is why it's more important than ever for us to rally around these basic human values that we have, and one of those obviously is compassion. I want to thank Tom Williams and the Partnership for Compassionate Louisville. Tom is a really exceptional guy. He's the first one to say that he works for Lady Compassion and no one else. I've never heard quite anybody say that quite before. But it's a beautiful way to kind of have a mantra and anchor for how your decisions are made. So, Tom, thank you for the great model that you give to our city every day. When you take a look at what we've been doing in our city, obviously, you might say we're on to something here. The first year when we started our Give a Day week of service, there were 800 people showed up that one day. Last year, 175,000 volunteers and acts of compassion. And then it was November 11th, 2011, when we signed the Charter for Compassion with many people in this room. And then our Metro Council unanimously endorsed that. And I would like to say that they unanimously endorse everything I suggest, but that is not the case. So I was quite gratified to see that. Joan mentioned the 120 businesses that we have. When we announced the 100th, it was cute. UPS was our 100th company to sign on board, and they had a UPS delivery man deliver their proclamation in the middle of the meeting as well. We have the Compassionate Schools project that's taking place. It's getting great national acclaim. In Time magazine just 2 months ago talked about the urgency of new ways of education and compassion in cities, and people understanding this more. When you take a look at some of our most challenged citizens, our youngest citizens that are showing up in kindergarten, that some of them, when they come from very tough backgrounds, have lived their whole lives basically in a post-traumatic stress syndrome condition. They don't know what an open heart and an open mind is. That's what the Compassionate Schools project is all about. So last year we started with a pilot of 3. This year we have a total of 26 schools participating in that. The Dalai Lama helped us tremendously, and I want to thank Geshe La here and Ann Walter from Drepung Gomong Center for Engaging Compassion, Brother Monk from India, from the Mother House as well, for bringing the Dalai Lama to Louisville in 2013, and for us being able to share with him what we were attempting to do around compassion and the encouragement that he gave all of us and the 16,000 people that showed up at the Yum Center that you'll remember were lined up all the way across the bridge into Indiana, which was such a powerful image for the world to see in terms of listening to one of the great holy men in our world to talk about this simple notion of compassion and bringing people together in a force of interconnection. So Geshe La, thank you for your leadership here as well in our city. Let's hear it for Geshe La and Ann Walter. A group of us spoke to His Holiness this past June in Indianapolis when he was there for the mayor's meeting and reviewed everything that we've done since he was here in 2013. I asked him to return to our city so we could brief him more, show him other folks, and he looked at that and he was quiet and he just said, "It's my duty to come to Louisville and celebrate what you're doing and move forward as well." And that really struck me when hearing that from somebody like the Dalai Lama, to say it's his duty to come to something. You can see where this work is anchored in his heart, and that visit this coming April during the Festival of Faiths is going to mean so much to our city again. I want to thank Brenda Frank over here. Brenda has been on this journey from day one, including going back to my campaign as mayor when we came up with this notion that compassion would be a guiding city value. So Brenda, thank you for everything that you do every day. And last, for folks that think, oh, this is all soft and silly kind of stuff and some kind of leftist plot to overthrow the country, I want to thank our friends at ComputerShare. I don't know if anybody was here for the meeting today or not, because when the CEO of ComputerShare and their company that's been in Louisville now for about 2 or 3 years, they just announced their next expansion up to 1,200 employees. And when I asked Steve, their CEO, why did you choose Louisville? They had 40 different cities they were looking at, and we were in the final 2. He said, I chose Louisville because we loved your focus on compassion. So compassion is good for business as well, okay? It really is. So now, where do we go from here? It's time to take another step forward on our city's compassion journey. So I'm happy to announce the launch of the Compassionate Cities Index. Joe, thank you, and Dr. Fall as well. Out of town, okay. So the Compassionate Cities Index is a comprehensive study designed to measure compassion at the city level within the context of individual communities. We're launching this, obviously, because we need a tool, and we believe in gathering and understanding data, and then measuring our success, being accountable to citizens. It'll be quite fascinating to see, because we're going to be able to measure this throughout all zip codes in our city. And let's face it, not all zip codes are the same. This issue of health equity is a serious issue for our country, where the zip code that you're born in should not determine what your outcome is in life here. So we're happy to partner to create this Compassionate Cities Index with the University of Louisville's Institute for Sustainable Health and Optimal Aging, the University of Louisville School of Medicine, the International Center for Compassionate Cities, which will be formally launching in a couple months, Compassionate Louisville, and the Charter for Compassion. This is a strong team that's stronger than any in the world. I'd put us up against anybody in the world on this. Dr. Gansel, what you guys are doing here is incredible. Dr. Klein, John Klein, your work in this, of leading this, has been so humbling for us to have in our city as well. And Joe, you and the work that Dr. Faller's doing to proactively jump into this and say, how can we do more? I mean, no other city's doing this kind of stuff, right, Joe? That's why you're here for 5 years in a row, okay? You know.
When I come back next year, you'll have taught about 10 more cities.
We will have. You know, we humbly accept this award. But as Muhammad Ali said, if it's true, it ain't bragging, okay? Okay, so what this Compassionate Cities Index is going to do is going to define the measures and the components that make a city compassionate. So U of L's Dr. Joe and Dr. Fall will look beyond dollars donated and hours volunteered. The Compassionate Cities Index is a comprehensive study conducted by the Institute and designed to measure how people feel and act with compassion within the context of their specific community. So the study is going to examine a variety of metrics that indicate compassion. They'll be gathering data from dozens of Louisvillians in each of the 37 standard zip codes in Jefferson County to make this assessment. So we're really eager to see the results of the study, and we'll use that information going forward in our work to promote compassion. And this is not some kind of playbook that you just look into and go from page to page. This is an organic, evolving, values-led mission that doors seem to open up every time that we push forward, and I'm confident that they will continue to push forward. So like the Compassionate Schools Project, Air Louisville, Louis Stat, and so many other efforts, the Compassionate Cities Index is an example of how our city continues to be a leader in civic innovation, in our use of data and metrics, and in compassion as well. And we all know the basics, and we hear it from the Dalai Lama, if you're feeling a little down, what do? Well, if you want to be happy, be compassionate. And if you want others to be happy, be compassionate as well. While we go through these trying times, people say, I don't know what to do. What should I do, Mayor? I said, go out and be compassionate, and see where that takes us from there. So now we've talked about what we're doing within the national context and the local context. I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize another individual that's here who's been a soulmate and a brother of ours to help us on this journey of compassion from the West Coast. And that's John Raymer, who's here with us today from Seattle. When we started this work some 5 or 6 years ago, I guess we all connected through the internet somehow, and Seattle was doing a lot of work around compassion. I think the Dalai Lama had been there the year before, probably in 2008. And so from that visit sprang a lot of really good work in Seattle. And so Seattle wanted to be more like Louisville. So we said, well, okay, let's have a competition. And we've had this good-natured competition that John has scaled to unbelievable global heights, really. It's just been so cool to watch an individual who is so driven by this notion of value and human values and say, I'm going to use my life to make the world a better place through compassion. And you just don't run into many people like that. You see a lot of people that are always talking, but they don't do, okay? He does it in such a powerful way and has scaled this notion of compassion through the compassion games that have opened up so many people's minds and hearts around the country. So, John, if you could come up here, please. John Raymer. This is the city of Louisville honoring John Raymer for his. Yeah, here, like we want you to move here, man.
Wow.
So this is to John for his deep-seated commitment to fostering compassionate communities, John's selfless endeavors to promote and expand kindness, including but certainly not limited to the Compassionate Games International, the Compassion Games International, are worthy of the highest commendation for their mission and entrepreneurial example. So our city enthusiastically welcomes John and thanks him for being a shining example of compassion. You are a good brother.
Oh, man. Wow. All right. This notion of you lighting another's fire brightens your own path. And so many people right now, as you said, we're at a place we've never been before. And this is a path that guides us. And to have you guys as my partners. So many times, you know, there are those dark nights of the soul you wonder. I know you're here, and we're not alone. So I really am surprised. I was so happy just to be here to share in what you guys have done. And it's with humility and great respect for all the agents of compassion. They are rising. You see it now all over the world. We know this is not like it's ever been before. And I told you it's time to up the game. So I know you guys have done really good. And you've kind of, I never forget when Tom said, the mayor says, we'll come out to Seattle to help you beat us. I said, oh man, we're going to have to be more compassionate than ever. Well, that's my vow to you, is that we're not done yet. Game on, Mayor. Game on, Louisville. Thank you so much. Wow.
Thank you, Mayor Fisher, and thank you, John. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming to the Institute today. We're looking forward to launching this index, and we're going to need your help. We're going to interview a number of people across the city, but we also need 67 people from each zip code to fill out our survey. That'll be the subjective portion of the survey. And then the mayor's office and the city's helping us on our objective and subjective measures. So we look forward to it. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.